On Friday or Thursday of last week, Secretary Paulson commented on reform, because it's a big thing now as to whether the U.S. is totally responsible, whether there's any culpability of anybody else around the world. And of course, you know they're meeting in Washington as we speak. And he said our first priority, just listen to this one, I got to say this right, our first priority must be recovery and repair. To adequately reform our system, we must make sure we fully understand the nature of the problem, which will not be possible until we are confident it is behind us. Direct quote. I keep reading that thinking, wait a minute, does that make sense? The problem is, this problem may never come up again, so what's the use of the understanding of that? We are humbled by our own failings and recognize our special responsibility to the global economy. Global imbalances, and this was a big, big problem, that fuel low global interest rates. Low rates have been a big problem. And excess risk-taking in the pre-crisis period, including the lack of consumption in places like China and other places, and accumulation of reserves in Asia and oil-exporting countries, and structural issues in Europe, he says, contributed to this problem. So you know, everybody's kind of pointing now. The prognosis, well, we're not terminal. That's the good news. I mean, this is a great country, and this country will come back. But this is a consumer-led recession. It is going to be deep and long. It's going to be at least all of next year, and it could go for a couple of years. And when we come out of it, the growth will be slow. And I think you know, that's the bad news. The good news is you now know that, and you can now factor that into your decision making. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. This is the first in 30 years. 1981 was the last consumer-led recession, and believe me, you all know it and I know it, the consumer is on the sideline now. The Fed has run up its balance sheet to over $2 trillion. Target interest rates have been cut to 1%. I believe in December we'll get another 50 basis point cut in the target rate. But Fed funds rates, as was pointed out last night, are about 9 basis points. We actually have very close to 0% interest rates on the very shortest end of the lending yield curve in this country. There is no cavalry coming from the Fed to save the economy with more rate cuts, because we already are resting at 0. And so the only feasible approach is fiscal spending, and you are going to see fiscal spending. And for resource companies, that could be very good news. So we will have big fiscal programs. I think this is very important that I am a gold bug, by the way. As part of my portfolio, I own gold. I own the metal. I keep the metal somewhere safe, and I own companies like Gold Corp, and I also own exploration companies as well. You must own an allocation of gold in your portfolio. That's my opinion. You must do that. And you must own access to gold. Well, the good news, and again, this was pointed out last night by Mr. Hale, China makes the first big move, November the 9th, 2008. Actually, this was the first big move. There were a couple of other ones. A massive spending effort of $586 billion on infrastructure. That means copper and cement and iron ore and tin and all kinds of infrastructure. That will help. Without doubt, other countries will follow, including the Europeans and the Americans, with fiscal spending of significant size. By the way, fiscal spending isn't just infrastructure. It's also on social things as well. And with the Democratic Congress, we'll see plenty of that. Remember that the U.S. consumer, I couldn't believe this when I saw it. I really went back and checked this. The U.S. consumer, in 2007, was 20% of world GDP. And it's now on the sidelines, big time on the sidelines. So even the fiscal spending around the world is not probably going to make up for the lack of all of us who like to go out and spend at Christmas time. Christmas will be a very interesting time. So with housing turning down, then where has the consumer turned since he or she has not been able to get home equity withdrawal loans and things like that? To their credit cards. Amen. October the 15th, 2008. These are quotes. Credit card balance growth is increasing growth in consumer loans, a sign of intensifying stress on consumers amid accelerating job losses, home price deflation, equity market wealth destruction. All of those things have happened to all of us in this room. Commercial bank outstanding credit card balances soared $7.1 billion in the week of October the 15th. That's billion, not million. That's a lot of money. Delinquency payments also rose to 4.1% of outstanding credit in the third quarter, up from 2.5%. Bank of America's delinquency rate rose to 5.9%, according to American Express. The pool of uncollectible loans, credit card loans, rose to a high of 6.7% in 3Q, up from 3.6% last September. Lots of data here, but you get the drift. On November the 11th, last Monday, American Express, they kicked the can too, just like Goldman Sachs did, Morgan Stanley. They were approved literally overnight by the Fed. Within hours they were approved as a bank holding company. Guess why? Anybody know why?
Go to the well.
They're in the line. They're, you know, food tray that's going to be handed out, $700 billion. So it's going to be interesting to see if GM decides to become a bank.
It's out there with that.
You got to laugh at this. Consumer stress, yes. Consumer stress, yes. 58.8% of banks are tightening lending standards. I mean, this lending, you don't have lending in this economy, a lot of things stop. So 60% of banks, 58.8%, were tightening lending standards for credit cards. 25% of banks reported lower limits on prime borrowers. 61% reported lowering limits on non-prime credit cards. And down at the bottom here, this is pretty interesting. This is a Federal Reserve Officer Survey of banks willing to lend. This is the 1980 recession, and this is where we are now at minus 47 right here. So you can see that whatever we're in, I'm just trying to give you some graphical analysis to show you that we are entering into a phase of a very deep recession and possibly a long recession, possibly. I like this one. The consumer has been buoyed by credit card availability. What consumer spending there is has been fueled in part by credit card. The second largest merchant vendor for credit card use is McDonald's. Credit card growth has never been sustained at such a level. This is especially true as credit card delinquencies have been rising, and you're going to see credit card vendors pulling back in no matter what here. They're going to cut on lines, they're going to cut people that aren't using the cards, they're going to take them back and so on. As of November the 6th, the retail sales number, there's more numbers out yesterday, but you know, this is overkill. I know this is overkill, but I just want to make sure you're all on the same page. Here's Nordstrom, no, here's Saks, same-store sales down 16.6%. Nordstrom, same-store sales down 15.7%. Limited brands down 9%, The Gap down 16%. You can see the numbers. Walmart up 2.4%. So we are having a blue Christmas is going to be upon us. A blue Thanksgiving is going to be upon us. And the good news is I'm starting to see big price reductions already coming down the pipe here. Whether or not that will induce people to take that money out from under the mattress and go and spend it, that's another issue. Remains to be seen. Come April, we have this seminar again. It will be very interesting to look back and say, what happened over this time? Did we actually manage to get over this, or did we go deeper into the funk? Did we go deeper into the funk of the psychology of recession? The psychology of recession is what it's all about. Once again, the government to the rescue. Why work? Just stop paying. I'm serious. Americans are lumbering under about $900 billion in credit card debt, according to the Federal Reserve. The Associated Press on November the 1st told us the new proposal pitched to federal regulators by the Financial Services Roundtable, which represents more than 100 big banks and other companies, and the Consumer Federation of America, would allow lenders to reduce by 40% the amount of credit card debt owed by deeply indebted consumers in a pilot program. Let's get lined up.